So with Christmas fast approaching, there is the opportunity to present to children in the classroom, in the religion lessons, the Nativity. And this particular kit has a number of figurines in it. We have Mary and Joseph, we have an angel, we have 3 shepherds, we have 3 magi, and of course we have the baby Jesus in his little manger there. And you have booklets to match with that, actually, and I'm going to show you the 3 booklets to introduce you today. And we have one for the birth of Jesus, one for the shepherds and the angels, and one for the Magi visit the child. You may not get to reaching this last one because it actually occurs after Christmas, but on the other hand, it's important to have the opportunity to present that one as well. Incidentally, it depends where you're teaching, because if you're in the USA, you would be using this one at the beginning of January, close to the time when it happens. And we also have another thing that's included, and that is this chart here. It's a very simple page which explains, I'll just put it down, which explains this concept. So I'll just explain that right now. This is something that's included with the kits. So there's a little jar full of buttons, and the buttons have got little impressions on them of usually flowers. And I'm going to read to you what it says here. Good deeds and prayers, Advent jars, welcoming Jesus. The flower buttons can be placed in a small bowl by the students who've completed a good deed and a prayer, or just a good deed. Actually, just ad-libbing, they could see somebody else doing a good deed and add a flower. They represent birthday gifts for the baby Jesus. So there's no need for students to ask for permission or to explain their good deeds and their prayers. There's an element of trust in that, okay? They're going to do it because they've done something. Encourage them to be very honest with themselves about this. So each flower represents a little gift to Jesus from themselves, or perhaps presented to Jesus on behalf of others who've done some good deed. Once collected, they can be arranged as a bouquet of flowers, and there are some pictures that can give you some ideas, and perhaps they can become cards that they take home or make for somebody. So along here you've got different things you can do with those little buttons once they've been used or placed in the little prayer tray. So that's something to introduce around Advent time and leading on through the days leading towards Christmas. I'm going to remove now some of these figurines because they're not needed for the first presentation. And that's the thing, that you wouldn't have all of them out at the same time. And so I've just wanted you to have an overview there. But we'll take them away, the ones that are not relevant, we'll take them away just now, out of sight. Because the first one really focuses on our Mary and Joseph. Getting right into it, let's see what we have in the first booklet, the birth of Jesus. The core concept is simply this, that Jesus was born in a poor stable in the town of Bethlehem. The materials you need are the Nativity diorama and a background which is like the stable, a backdrop. introducing the words that are new to the children or likely to be, not familiar to them in any way. Or Caesar Augustus, the man who was in charge of the whole government. Just wording it simply as little children will be able to understand. Quirinus, the man who was in charge of the area where Jesus was born. Census, counting everyone in the country, writing down their names and where they lived. Manger, food box for cows and sheep. The presentation, you need to set up the stable and the felt and have Mary and Joseph at some distance from the manger and the stable. The baby Jesus out of sight. The manger in which Jesus will be placed can be put in front of the stable backdrop, as we have here. This is what you say to the children. Today we're going to read about the night when Jesus was born. We're going to light the candle, and I'm sure the children by now well and truly know what that represents. This is taken from the Gospel of St. Luke. In those days, a decree went out from the Emperor Augustus that the whole world should be registered. This was the first registration and was taken while Quirinus was the governor of Syria. All went to their own towns to be registered, and Joseph and Mary went along too. Joseph also went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to the city of David called Bethlehem, because he was descended from the house and the family of David. He went to be registered with Mary, to whom he was engaged and who was expecting a child. When they were there, the time came for her to deliver her child. And she gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in bands of cloth, and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the inn. I wonder why Mary and Joseph had to go to Bethlehem. And I wonder why it was so crowded when they got there. I wonder, and this is a big I wonder why God's Son was born in such a cold and lonely place. You need to bear in mind that when you present this to children, you have already covered a fair bit of ground. They've experienced the presentation of the Annunciation. They've listened to the story of the visitation. And with different children at different ages, you'll be able to unpack the meaning and the commitment of Mary and Joseph, and Mary's response to the angel saying that she was not expecting to expect a child, and how the angel told her that it would come about through the power of the Holy Spirit, who would descend upon her, and the child that she would give birth to would be the Son of God, the expected one. So all of this is material that they will be, to a certain extent, familiar with. Bear that in mind when you're doing this particular presentation. And then one of the questions, the I wonder question, that really will get them thinking is that last one: why God's Son was born in such a cold and lonely place. We can think it's obvious to children, but I can promise you it is not so easy. So even children who are in year 2, I have found, or year 3, have never really unpacked that. And they can ponder that for quite some time, and will be coming up with different reasons why that might be so, and will lead to very deep learning on their part. So this is just one presentation. Of course, there's the pondering through choices that follows on using the actual diorama, and perhaps drawing pictures, annotating pictures, classical images that they might have access to, drawing on blackboards, whiteboards, journaling if they're older. So a whole range of things that they could be doing in response to this one. And it's quite intentional not to usually present more than one event of these 3 events at one time. When they're older and perhaps they're being newly exposed to these materials, and they might be older but they're very interested and engaged with what they see, I suppose it is possible to present this first one that I have done and follow it on immediately with the shepherds and the angels. But normally they'd be separated in time by perhaps a week.